Thanks for listening to the AZ12 podcast, proudly presented by Little Caesars. 15% off any online order. Enter promo code SAVE15, code LCFREECC, free crazy combo with a pizza purchase. All right, with John Brogan, I'm Mike Luke. All right, everybody, we got a lot to get to here. We already got a $49.99 Super Snap. BTFD, 4 more wins. All right, we're going to talk about some of the good, some of the bad, but the first thing, and I very much appreciate you, Lee. The first thing that we need to talk about that is a win is a win is a win. And I'm going to say this, when it comes to a win, when it comes to a win being a win, survive and advance. You look at Duke, they didn't look good. You look at Florida, they got bounced. You look at, who else was it?
UConn's in the dogfight.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is really, you got to look at things like that. So a win is a win. There's obviously concerns in this game. But, Brogan, your initial observations, and then we're going to go backwards from there.
Arizona has this knack of doing things like the Kansas game sticks out to me, where they go on a run in the start of the second half, get up big, then coast and give a bunch of the lead back. Game gets a little tight, and then they step on the gas again. Outside of that, I don't think Arizona played great. They dominated the glass. They didn't shoot the ball very well. But in the tournament, the goal's to win. And so I don't hate this as a refocus game heading into the Arkansas game. If we had blown them out by 30 going to the Arkansas game, I might feel a little different. But now they'll be fully focused for Arkansas. They'll have a couple days to game plan and be ready to go.
You know what I think it's going to be funny about this, and I do this all the time as well, is that I think people have gone now from saying that Arkansas is total trash and that Arizona will be able to destroy them by 30 points to now thinking they're probably going to be UNLV of 1990. I stole that from you. And when in actuality, they're a very beatable team, but they can beat you. They are a talented team as well.
Well, and look, Utah State is a really, really good defensive team. They had a great game plan. You don't notice it necessarily when the game's going on, but Jaden Bradley had no assists for the game. Arizona had 8, where they averaged 16, 17, 18 assists a game.
Right.
So Utah State had a great game plan defensively. And, they weren't going to give Arizona a bunch of easy buckets.
Right.
So for Arizona to kind of get into a little bit of a rock fight where it's an ugly game, not as ugly as some of the other games today, but Arizona, we talk about in post games and your shows a bunch, we talk about margin for error. And this is Arizona basketball. They shoot a bunch of free throws, they rebound, they defend. Sometimes we struggle to inbound and sometimes we struggle to break presses, but we do so many good things that they win games regardless of a few of the deficiencies in those games. And tonight was a perfect example of that.
All right, well, let's talk about it. Something that's annoyed me all season. And again, I think Tommy is awesome. I want him to be here forever. I think he's great. I think he's perfect. I do not understand why we have a problem with the press break. It's almost like it looks like they don't even practice it. I get that guys are handsy now. I get all of that. But how many times does a guy just get the ball in, whether that's Jaden or Yvonne or ADO, and then they just dribble it to somewhere and pick it up and then get trapped? I mean, even on the play where Jaden got the and one, ADO was in the corner on the baseline, and he was trapped, and obviously got it to midcourt. Why is this such an issue?
Yeah, I don't know. And if you think about the play that Bradley got the and one, that was the first time where they actually tried to attack and be sort of aggressive, pass out of the double team, and then go. Whereas our kind of normal press break is get it into one of the guards, walk the ball into a double team, throw it side to side for about 8 seconds, and then panic for 2 seconds and hope something good happens. And so, I don't know. They're not going to make major changes at this point in the season, but they are going to address the press break in practice. They're not going to just let that go. Like, you don't play a game like this where you turn the ball over and have so many close calls at the end of the game that could have changed the game without making those adjustments for Arkansas. The good news is Arkansas doesn't play defense. They don't press. And if they do press, they're not going to be disciplined and play hard like Utah State. So the press break shouldn't be a concern against Arkansas.
And one thing I'm going to give as well is that Utah State, when you watch them up close, they are not a bad team. Utah State is a solid basketball team. There's a reason that line was, what was the final line? 12?
12 and a half, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, they are a solid team. That's the best way that I can put it. All right. Ted AZ Cats, $29.99 Super Snap. Ted Wardo going to get him some Razorback. BTFD, very much appreciate you. Very much appreciate you. All right, so you got that. And everybody that wants to know about my tweet about Krivas, I said that in the end of the first half. He obviously dominated in the second half. He was awesome. So, and unlike, so I will absolutely give him that. You need to look at when I tweeted that, though. Let me ask you this, though. It was something kind of weird today. Arizona won the game, and you got next to nothing from Tobe. You got next to nothing. Obviously, ADO was really, really rough. And Dwayne, I thought it was kind of interesting, too, that Dwayne didn't play at all in the second half, really, because I thought Dwayne gave some pretty solid minutes. And it was weird. You had three guys who were essentially that you count on that were basically complete non-factors.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue is, because when Dwayne was in there, he was fine, made a three, right? Early in the game.
Right.
I'm going to assume it's trust.
Right.
And that, Tommy hasn't exactly went deep in tournaments. And so for him, he's known ADO for a couple years now, and I think he trusts him.
Right.
And one thing about ADO is tonight he was bad. He turned the ball over. He's getting trapped, made a couple bad decisions. That's not usually him, though.
Right.
Like, he's usually a pretty secure player with the ball. Again, he might miss some shots here and there, and he's not the best defender, but he's not super turnover guy.
Right.
And so I have to just assume it's that. They don't trust Dwayne yet. I mean, he missed, he was sick for 3 weeks heading into the Big 12 tournament as well. So I think it's more of a trust thing than anything else.
Yeah. Right, I get it. Now, there were some obviously bright spots in this game. The two guys that you have two closers on this team, though, and you saw them both do it. And that's something that I think going into the season, a lot of people were wondering, how can, what is Arizona going to be able to do? You have obviously Jaden's clutch factor is insane. I don't know that I've seen somebody at the U of A that could kind of just go through the game. And I was talking with some people at halftime. It looked like the wrist was bothering him because, he didn't shoot well in the first half and, all the shots were short. But, man, in that second half, it really, really became difficult. Man, he's getting and ones. He's finishing around the paint. He's also making his free throw and missed one. But he has got a clutch factor that is just – it's impossible to really quantify. And that's why I think so many coaches did vote for him for the Conference Player of the Year.
Well, we've seen it probably 8 or 9 times this season where it's more than just go get me a game winner. It's the game gets tight. Arizona needs a bucket, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes to go. And he's like 90% from the field in those types of scenarios. It's insane. Right. Even the one-handed scoop floater over the shot blocker that somehow hit the back of the rim and still rolled in.
Right.
Like, he's just the bump high spinner off the backboard. He just has a unique ability to finish some crazy shots. And, more often than not, he's doing it in crunch time when Arizona needs a bucket.
Yeah, so you got that, and then you traded off with Braden Burries as well. I think with Braden Burries. And by the way, Scott, what's so good about the Utah State coach? We played horrible and still won by 12. He's good, dude. You can tell that was a well-coached team, and I don't think I'm breaking any news here, but I was walking through the hallway, and one of the people around the staff said, and I'm not going to say the whole thing, but he said these guys are freaking tough. He was talking about Utah State. That is a tough team. That is a good team, man. That's an NCAA tournament team.
And part of Arizona, it's like the Kansas game at Fog. Part of Arizona playing bad in the second half of that game was Kansas and Budinga's defense. Part of Arizona playing bad tonight was Utah State's defense. They had a great game plan. They executed. Sometimes having the better players is enough, and tonight it was enough for Arizona because our stars made plays at the end of the game. But Utah State had a great game plan. They basically told Arizona, you're going to beat us one-on-one a bunch. And Bradley started the game 1 for 9, and he had no assists for the game. And so that was kind of how the game went. And then they turned up the pressure a little bit, got a few turnovers, made a few shots, and the game got tight. So, we didn't play great, but you got to give Utah State some credit for that.
All right, now we're going to get into a lot of Arkansas stuff here. Nick Arenas, Mike, who do you want on ACUF next week? That's just going to be it. Here's where I'm at with Arkansas. Is that I think Arizona will beat Arkansas because Arkansas doesn't really play defense, and I think Arizona is going to beat them up in the paint. But I'm going to say this though, like they're going to try a lot of different guys on ACUF. Defensively, ACUF is a traffic cone. He's terrible. He doesn't even try. Offensively, he might be the best lead guard offensively I've seen since Allen Iverson. And if not, maybe there's a couple guys in between. He's going to get his. He's going to get 25 to 30 points. He's going to have 7 to 8 assists. I think people just need to recognize that because he's a different animal on offense entirely. You don't want Malik Thomas then to go for 23 points, or you don't want Billy Richmond to go for 19 or something like that. Acuff's going to get his Acuff going to get his, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and with Acuff, you just don't want him going,
let me turn the light on. Keep talking.
You're good. 12 for 16 from the field and scoring 30 points and being super efficient. The thing about Arkansas that I think will be interesting is when you look at the High Point game, they played 6 guys. And DJ Wagner played 20 minutes. They played nobody else. I think one other guy got 1 minute in that game. But they played 6 guys, and they played McEwen and Brazil up front, and that's it. Other than that, Billy Richmond's 6'7", Malik Thomas is 6'5", so they have some decent size. But if Brazil or McEwen's in foul trouble, they're going to give up 1,000 offensive rebounds in that game.
And that's where I just kind of keep coming back to. And again, we'll talk about that more. But I think that Arizona matches up with them really, really well. They do have a lot of NBA guys, but I've also seen teams with NBA guys that weren't good. I mean, I think back to that 2003, 2004 Arizona team where you had Andre Iguodala, Salim Stoudemire, Channing Frye, Hassan Adams, and they sucked. So if you don't have, it is what it is. Let's see here. Scott says, we will beat Arkansas by 10. Acuff will have 35. I could easily see that being the case. That would not surprise me at all. Now, free throws. All right. Sorry. Let's get a couple of super snaps in. Let's see here. Payable to Mike's ring light fund. Oh, it's $4.99. Thank you very much, Tyler Warden. Thank you very much. M Strong, stop eating like a toddler and stay away from the chicken fingers. Bear down, San Jose. I ate a chicken finger that didn't have any chicken in it. It was it is what it is. It was
all right. So real quick, this is moderately surprising, not super surprising. Arizona opened at 9.5 against Arkansas.
That really surprises me. I mean, not really surprised. I thought it would be about 7.
Yeah, 7.5 exactly. But we can pump the brakes on. Arkansas is dangerous,
right?
But we dug into Arkansas when we saw the bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Big teams kill Arkansas because they don't play any defense. And you saw the High Point game. High Point shot a bunch of open layups and a bunch of threes.
Right.
And so if you're going to let Arizona shoot layups and score 40 to 50 points in the paint, they're going to beat Arkansas 100 to 80.
Right. And that's I think that's where, and again, Arkansas did not look good against High Point. I think you could easily make the case that they were, that you kind of had. Now, I don't really blame the white guy for shooting the threes that he did, but there's also a time and place, and those were not the ones. I had a coach one time in high school that said, if you're going to take that shot, you better make it. I mean, I'm sure you've had coaches that have told you that too.
Well, but my thing with that game with High Point is they threw him the ball for him to shoot those shots. Like, it wasn't like they were late second jack up.
No, I get it.
At the end of the shot clock. Like, that's just how they play. And he was the guy. If he makes one of those 2 at the end, they probably have a good chance to win.
Yeah, for sure.
So
all right, now love thy neighbor. Let's just get right in. Let's just get it all. Let's just start talking Arkansas because people want to talk about Arkansas. We'll also talk about Nebraska. By the way, we all imagine if Nebraska makes the Elite Eight. I mean, they got a good chance. I mean, they're freaking favored. So okay, all right. Let's see here. All right, now let's get a couple reads in here. Mike Luke, Texas or Purdue? Who do we want? Texas. All right, Alchemy. I got an awesome hat from the folks at Alchemy. Curtis was there. It was awesome. I got the hat. And again, just like I told you, they are there. They are on the ground. They are boots on the ground. And check it out. Alchemy, my friends. Alchemy. Insurance and financial solutions for Wildcat Nation. #Bear Down. Business insurance, personal insurance, benefits, life, wealth management. You name it. They're the official sponsor of Arizona Athletics. And what's absolutely fantastic about them is that they are U of A fans. They are there. It is great to see them. It was a great time. Alchemy, check them out. Official sponsor of Arizona Athletics. All right, let's see. All right, now Casino del Sol. We're going to be having, we'll be having some more watch parties here shortly. It was very, very well attended, and you guys were all great as well. Casino del Sol, the soul of a Tucson. Again, you can go in there and you can bet. You can go in there and you can put down some wagers. You can do a lot of different things and have a really, really good time as well. That's the cool thing about Casino del Sol. Check it out. Again, Casino del Sol. 88 Crime. All right. You see something doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. You see, and you're like, man, you shouldn't be doing any of that stuff. Give 88 Crime a call. 882-7463. It's anonymous. Pima County Attorney's Office, 88crime.org. All right. Now let's just hop into Arkansas and what they're going to do. There's a couple things that I think Arizona has a big advantage on. And obviously let's start up front. And again, we got to talk about Krivas. Krivas was defensively, he was an absolute monster, and those free throws were huge. There's just, there's really no other way to put it. Krivas is going to get a lot of opportunities around the bucket against Arkansas because, again, they don't really defend, and even their bigger guys are a little bit kind of light in the ass, and, like Brazil. He's got it. The only thing I'm going to say is you got to finish the easy shots. You got to finish those easy buckets because everything else is great.
Yeah, and I was explaining to my kids watching the Arizona game in the first half, and it's kind of an underrated thing with Arizona, but I think it'll turn up kind of big in the Arkansas game. Is part of Arizona's game is just to put other teams in foul trouble.
Right.
And so you got to sit a guy here, a starter there. When you're a team like Utah State, you obviously don't have a ton of depth playing in the conference you're playing in, et cetera. But when Arkansas plays 6 guys, again, they're going to probably play Pringle, which is great for Arizona in that game.
Yeah,
because
fine with that. He stinks.
But I don't necessarily need Krivas to score 15 points in that game, but if he draws 3 or 4 fouls and he scores 7, 8 points, makes the easy ones, right? I can't have him missing layups in front of the rim.
I can't have him 1 for 6 again or 1 for 7 or whatever he is. Just make the go ahead.
But if between him and Awaka and Koa, if they're able to create a bunch of fouls and put Arkansas's bigs in foul trouble, Arizona blows Arkansas out in that situation because they're going to be way too small. So for Krivas, be elite defensively at the rim, which is kind of his calling card. We talked a little bit about this last post game, but Arizona's drop coverage is going to be interesting with Acuff, like how they manage to navigate that. They're going to have to change that a little bit because I don't think you want him hitting 7 or 8 threes in the game. And if you let him walk into threes, he's going to make a lot.
He's going to make them, yeah.
But yeah, Krivas has to be somewhat efficient in the paint, take the easy buckets when they're there, be a monster on defense, and create a few fouls.
Okay, why does Tommy like holding on to his time? You know what? It's funny. Like, it's kind of cool to be able to sit there and listen to some of the stuff. Tommy's very clear about it, and that Tommy believes that in letting his guys play through things. Now, you could say that, I don't like that. You could say whatever the case is, but I think you also see that there is a comfort level. There is these guys don't panic. They've been in a lot of close games this year, and there's never I think his mentality is we practice all the time. You guys know what you're going to have to do. I kind of like it. I mean, at first I understand there are some times where you're like, I probably should have called a timeout there, but he's playing to his philosophy. And honestly, I get it. And I kind of like it, quite frankly.
Look, every team does dumb stuff. All players do dumb things. We're fortunate to have one of the best college point guards in the country. Right. Been in college for a bunch of years. And so if you can't trust Bradley in situations where, oddly enough, he's proven that he's, extremely clutch in. But if you can't trust your team to work through some of the chaos and whatnot, then you got the wrong players out there is what I would say. But this has been Tommy's MO for 5 years now. He's never been one to be the timeout run stopper. I mean, we came from Sean Miller, who would call 3 timeouts in the first 4 minutes of the game if he needed to. To going to Tommy. But, is there a time and place to call timeouts? Has Tommy been perfect with that? No. But I'd much rather have 1 or 2 timeouts with under a minute to go than have none and be panicking because the game's tight and you have no control at that point.
Well, and the thing I like about it, too, is it allows your guys to also play more freely. And again, Miller's doing a really, really good stuff, obviously, at Texas. But how many times would you just watch Arizona where Miller was just basically controlling every single possession and run the ball to half court, look at the coach to call out a play? That's not really, his game plan. That's not what he's going to that's just not what he's going to do. So I totally appreciate that. Now, because the other guys too, you see it, Lute was another timeout holder as well. Very good call there, Dennis Walsh. What I find is generally the coaches that are real control guys, your Sean Millers, I mean, heck, your KOs, those guys are looking to use, they're going to use their timeouts early because that's a way of being able to exert their influence in the game. Not saying that's good, not saying that's bad. It's just a difference in philosophy. One thing though, that I want to give a lot of credit to though, Koa, especially early on, was really, really good in that first half. That was the Koa you see. And what I tell people about all the time, and I get there's some frustrations with him. People don't realize how talented Koa is with the ball. He had the wraparound pass when he caught the ball in transition, caught it with one hand, whipped it around. I think it was to ADO. There's not many 6'8" dudes in the country that can do that. He had a couple nice drives to the basket as well. Koa was aggressive. I like Koa. When Koa is aggressive, I really like it because I'm going to say this. I'll deal with anything bad that happens. I just want Koa to be aggressive. When he's aggressive, he's awesome.
Yeah, and not to jump ahead to Arkansas, but that's another game where he's going to be able to take advantage of Arkansas because there's not going to be a bunch of help defense. So he's going to be able to use his kind of handles to be one-on-one again, try to draw fouls, get some easy buckets. But he's another one of those guys. Between him and Burries, when they're in the game, the offense flows a lot better. We were chatting about this a little bit because he's another playmaker. He can create with the ball. He can hit shots. He can rebound. He does all the things. He got a tough whistle tonight. Usually it's Mo getting the crap whistle, but tonight it was Koa getting a bunch of sort of maybe.
Really? That's really a foul?
Yeah. And so that took him out of his rhythm a little bit, versus, first 8, 9, 10 minutes he was dominating.
I don't think anybody's overlooking Arkansas. I mean, Arizona should beat Arkansas, but Arkansas can absolutely beat Arizona. That, to me, they're not mutually exclusive. That team can beat you, but you should be able to beat them just because of the matchups.
But we're allowed to state the obvious. Arizona's a better team than Arkansas.
The line is 10 for a reason.
Right, that's a fact. So we're allowed to say that.
Right, for sure. All right, back the A. Back the A. 49.99 Super Snap. BTFD. Win is a win. A working front pipe is a pipe. Is a non-work? That's a great question from Dennis Walsh. Is a non-working pipe actually a pipe? I don't. That's a good question.
Is a non-working person a person?
I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah. All right. Well, who knows? If somebody knows, let me know. Okay. Now, Burries though. One thing that I noticed, and I feel like I'm, being able to do being able to just sit up there and watch that. Yeah, John Brogan. Yeah, Twin Mama, two of my favorite people, Brogan and Twin Mama. Yeah. But I'm going to say this though, Burries when he is in the game. All right, real quick. Love thy neighbor. Caleb went off last year and we lost. We can let's. I thought you were saying the opposite thing. Yeah. Oh, my bad. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say this, though, that when Burries is in the game, the team is just, and again, this is a no-duh remark, the team is just better. The offense flows smoother. There's not the kind of just standing around. Arizona needs him on the court because they can win games without him. They've shown that before, but man, it's a lot easier because he's got, for being a freshman, he's got a soothing influence. He doesn't do stupid stuff. And again, that 3-pointer he hit with the shot clock winding down, that thing was a dagger.
Yeah, that was an insane shot. Kind of running away from the basket, 23, 24-footer. The thing with Burries on offense is he allows Arizona to kind of change the way they play a little bit, just based on the simple fact that at any point he can take the ball and create a shot, whether it's a step back three, whether it's a mid-range, whether it's get to the basket. When he's out of the game and you've got wings of ADO and Ivan playing with Bradley, you kind of lose that attacking where it's a lot more ball movement, a little more high-low, a bunch of other 3-point attempts or Bradley kind of ISOing. And so the offense changes because we lose the one guy who's that real downhill attacker and kind of a diverse scorer. Bradley's good at it, but he's not diverse like Burries is. I almost called him Braden Burries or Jaden Burries.
Yeah, I know. Dude, you know how many times I've told you?
Well, on the broadcast, it was Braden Bradley is what they were calling Jaden to start the game. But Burries is so good offensively that the Arizona offense is so much more dynamic with that one guy who at any moment in the rhythm of the offense can just go get you a bucket.
Okay, now, Big 12 Bobby. I've told Brogan this many, many a time, my friend. When is Brogan branching out and doing his own show? I can listen to him over 75% of national experts. I know my mom agrees with this one as well, my friend. So
Janet's my favorite. You already know that.
Yeah. Janet likes John Brogan.
We go way back.
Yes. Okay. We go, way back. Yeah. When I was superior, or when he was my superior. Yeah. All right. One thing about Yvonne, I love Yvonne. Yvonne's great. It does feel like Yvonne is good for two jump balls every single game because he gets into the paint, he takes a jump stop, he brings the ball down, then guys come and they take it. I would like him to stop doing that. He's great. He does a lot of awesome things. That is something, though, when you watch, and it almost feels like it's almost a game plan, though, because whenever he got into the paint, they were swarming him. Please stop doing that.
And it kind of ADO's a little similar in that regard where Yvonne's more aggressive with the ball, but he's a kind of a straight line driver. And so when he makes his move and somebody hedges and helps, he's kind of stuck. Sometimes he can pass, sometimes he can do these other things, but it's one dribble too far, right? And that's when he gets into trouble. And so I don't know. He's kind of the KJ Lewis to me a little bit where he does so many good things. I just have to tolerate the occasional air ball three or the occasional jump ball, turnover, whatever, because defensively he's a monster. He can create, he can get to the rim.
Right. His air ball is great. All right. Now, Twin Mama, man, this is just as the kids would say, a John Brogan glazing session. John, what do you, as the kids would say, I've been wanting to use that. Okay. John, what do you do for the 9 to 5? First of all, Brogan is like 12 years older than Sheer. He is not a millennial. I'm
bringing all the millennial energy, though. Okay?
Yeah, he is not a millennial, but it's a compliment there, though. Brogan, do you want to tell people what you do for your 9 to 5? He makes a lot of money.
Yeah, I work for one of those big corporate companies called Intuit, TurboTax, QuickBooks type of thing.
Yeah, it's a good job if you can get. Good job if you get a hold of one of those ones. Yeah, hey Brogan, look at that. People think you're a millennial. Hey, you'll have to tell Jessica. You say, hey Jessica, we could maybe still have a kid. I'm 41 years old, not 49 or whatever.
I got lots of time.
You got a lot of time. Yeah. Reverse engineering that thing, baby. Okay. But no, he's great. But, like I said, I just wish that you know what it is a little bit? It's kind of like the Mo thing where you do so many good things that, if you're going to miss some chippies, I can deal with it. It just kind of is what it is. Now, real quick, UCLA looks like they are going to go down. Mick Cronin got a technical. It sounds like up 9, so that is not that does not surprise me in the least. But we're going to go all around the country. We're going to go all around the country. Don't worry about that. Now, Tobey, this was a weird game though, because with Tobey's one of those guys that basically every single game this year you could count on him. And there was something Tommy didn't like. There was just something with it. He was having a hard time finishing around the hoop. But there was something, that there was something off with Tobey today.
Yeah, and I think, there was probably 8 or 10 plays throughout the game where, and I think this was part of Utah State's game plan, is anytime Arizona got an offensive rebound, got the ball in the paint, there was like 8 people in the paint, 5 of them were Utah State's. Bodies hitting the floor. I mean, this was one of the first teams, even more so than Houston, that was like physically pushing Arizona back. Right. Like you saw Krevis crying about fouls. Tobey couldn't get any lift on any of his shots. They weren't giving him a bunch of cheap foul calls. And so I think Utah State basically said, look, we know they're going to push us around. The only chance we have is to fight back. And so I think that affected Mo's efficiency a little bit, right? A little bump here, a little push there. Same with Tobey. Arizona dominated the glass, but didn't really turn it into offense in a weird way where they normally do, where you blow teams out by 20 or 30. But again, Utah State to me gets a lot of credit because they were physical. They played tough. They had a good defensive game plan. They were going to pack the paint and force Arizona to make shots. And luckily at the end, Jaden and Burries came up big.
All right, my mom very much likes Brogan, and she also says Tyler Warden as well. But Tyler Warden, she's very clear about something here. She likes your hair a lot. She says you are to never wear a hat again on the show, Tyler Warden. So be very, very. My mom is very clear about that. What she gets is what she wants is what she gets. Golden Hawkeyes against the Golden Cornhuskers. We'll talk about that. I will say this though, I do expect Tobey to bounce back in a big way against Arkansas. I think Tobey is going to eat against Arkansas. I think that's a really good matchup for him because here's the thing about Arkansas as well, that I think that Arkansas doesn't play hard. They're very talented, but you watch them, you can get offense. I expect Arizona to get a lot of offensive rebounds in this game, quite honestly. Arizona, they don't play hard. That's the best way that I can put it all the time. Tobe Awaka plays hard. I think he's going to really bounce back in this one.
Yeah, and it's a good bounce back game. One, they're going to need it, but two, he's going to be one-on-one in the paint. And if you're going to leave Tobe in the paint one-on-one, that's where he gets those 7, 8, 9 offensive rebound games. Right. And again, Arkansas is going to have to be really, really careful with fouls and how much they contest and how physical they want to play. Because again, Arizona's got 3 bigs who would all start at most teams in the country, so they can be a little more aggressive and force things a little more. Arkansas doesn't have that luxury. And so, again, I think Mo's impact will be more defensively. I think Tobe's will be more offensively in the game on Thursday.
All right, Bear Down Jay says every team is going to play hard in the Sweet 16. See, I don't necessarily agree with that. I understand your point, but I don't believe if you're a team that hasn't played hard on both sides of the court all season, I don't think you just flip that switch and say, okay, now we're all of a sudden we're going to be playing hard. I mean, maybe, but I don't see it. Like, I'll put it to you like this. John Calipari is not going to all of a sudden tell Darius Acuff, I need you to be Gary Payton, or
and playing hard the wrong way. Playing hard's the wrong way to describe it. They're not going to change their style. They're going to give the ball to Acuff and Malik Thomas, and they're going to let them ISO or run high screen and rolls. They're not going to run anything else on offense. It will be the least complicated offense Arizona's faced all year. Right. They're going to spread the floor out on defense, and they're not going to help a ton. Acuff's not going to guard anybody because of foul trouble, and they're going to give up a bunch of layups and open shots. That's not going to change. The only path to Arkansas winning is to score 100 points on Arizona and outscore them, and nobody's done it so far.
And I think that, like you said, and nobody's done that. Nobody's done it so far. So tip time announced. We're the second game scheduled for 6:45 p.m. tip. Okay, now my mom is clearly hitting on Tyler Warden right now. I love it. He is engaged though, Mom. Nice try. But all right. So yeah, no layups. And Jaden, let's talk a little bit about Jaden. Offensively, what I'm going to say this is with Jaden, Jaden's got to he's going to be able to get buckets against Acuff. Just by, if you're doing high screen rolls, if you're doing a lot of things, because he's going to let him go. And Jaden's shown that he can finish around the hoop. I need an aggressive Jaden in this game, and I think you'll see it.
Yeah, I agree with you. We need an aggressive Jaden. I think I'm a little different on. I don't need him to score 25 points. If he's got 8 or 10 assists, then that means Tobe, Mo.
Oh yeah, Koa, for sure, no doubt.
Like everybody's eating. So like tonight, he was 1 for 9 to start the game. I'd rather have him be 2 for 3 with 6 assists in the first half, and the offense is just humming, and Arizona drops a 50 ball in the first half. But he has to be aggressive is the point. He has to take advantage of the fact that Acuff's not even going to try to guard him.
If he's, like you just said, and you hit the nail on the head, if he's getting in the lane, if he said, I don't need him to necessarily finish, but if he's doing, if he's setting up guys for lobs, or if he's getting the hockey assist where, you're giving it to a guy who's going to pass it to a dude for an open, but I need you in let me rephrase. I need him in the lane. Because you watch anything, and it was Mulebach messaged me about this. He was watching Arkansas. He said, it is amazing, he said, how they basically just let the guards get into the lane against whoever. So guys like Burries, guys like Bradley, they are going to be, they're going to be in a position to be able to make some stuff happen.
Yeah, the other thing that I think will be interesting about the Arkansas game is Richmond doesn't shoot the 3 ball very well. Brazil shoots it okay. McEwen doesn't leave the paint. And so Arizona really just has to focus on Malik Thomas and Acuff as far as shooting threes is concerned. And you're not going to score a bunch of 2s against Arizona. I know Utah State had more points in the paint, but they still were in the 20s, 26, 28, whatever. And so in a way, I think Arkansas is a lot more straightforward to defend, harder to defend because they have NBA players. But I think the game plan is simple against Arkansas. And Arizona is too fundamental on defense for Arkansas to just roll out 100 points.
All right. Well, let me rephrase. Mom is now getting serious. Mom's been married for 46 years. Yeah.
But she's only kind of taken. Just saying.
But she's only kind of, so I'm kind of taken. She didn't say
leaving
she's
the
totally
door
taken.
Crack. Leaving the door crack.
Yeah, she did. I see what you're doing there. Bow, chicka, bow, wow. All right, Cody, can you put that comment back up? I wanted to address it. So you have Arkansas is going to win because Arizona isn't playing, or Arizona's going to win because Arkansas isn't playing hard. No. Let me rephrase this for you. Arizona should win because Arkansas doesn't play defense, and Arizona is bigger and has more talented athletic guys across the board other than Acuff. Arkansas has got dudes. Malik Thomas is going to play a long time in the NBA. Billy Richmond's going to play a long.
And let's be clear. Arizona is not more athletic than Arkansas.
They're not. I don't. Yeah,
let's be clear. they're better at basketball. Their coach is better. They've got a lot of things going for them, but they're not more athletic.
They're not more athletic, yes. Okay, now Mr. Tyler Warden puts it great. He says Arkansas isn't going to come up with a new game plan against Arizona. It's just going to be Acuff and Thomas can just outplay. So I would agree with that. That's what it's going. That's what it's going to be. But Arizona is not more athletic than Arkansas. That's that is one thing I will. But Arizona plays a lot harder. They're a better team, and they are clearly a better team than Arkansas. That 10-point spread really is interesting to me.
If you look at the two games Arizona lost, they shot like low 30s against Kansas in the second half. Badinga dominated the paint. They just couldn't score in that game in the second half. First half was fine. Second half couldn't score. You look at Texas Tech, same thing. Stinker second half, but Tech made big shots. But again, Arizona struggled to score. That won't be the problem against Arkansas unless they just miss open shots. Right. And so that's where I think the game against Arkansas changes, because anytime Arizona's going to need a bucket, Arkansas is going to let them have it. High Point showed that. Like anytime they needed a bucket, they got a layup or an open three. And so, again, Arkansas shoots 60% from the floor, scores 106 points, they're going to win. If Arkansas scores 80, they're going to lose. All
right. Well, LOL, what? Hard disagree. Okay. Well, Acuff's more athletic than Bradley. Malik Thomas is more athletic than Braden Burries. Billy Richmond's more athletic than Ivan Karchenkov. I mean, I can just go down the list. Those guys are better athletes. More athletic. Yeah, their bigs are more athletic. They're not better. They're more athletic. That's I don't know what else to say on that one. All right, let's get some reads in here, and then let's go around the NCAA, because there's a lot of stuff that was going on. Look at Dennis Walsh. Dennis Walsh is amazing. Besides being a lawyer, a pilot, he also understands spreads. The 10-point spread means they think we are going to roll big. Nothing gets by this guy. But I will tell you this. I am going to endorse Dennis Walsh in that take, but I will never endorse Andre Varison. I gave him a ride home from the arena today. Dude spent the entire time trying to get me to Acuff is not equal, or Bradley is not equal to Acuff in athleticism. But learn more about your old 401k, IRA, and investments and how they actually work. Not sure whether you should be contributing to a Roth IRA, traditional IRA, or your 401k. Give the Gladiator a call. He will review your income, taxes, and saving strategies so you understand which options make the most sense. Give Andre a call at 520-325-3456. Boom. All right, now, Foster Plumbing, front pipe. We got my mom in here. She's hitting on everybody in the chat. Brogan, talk about your front pipe. How's it working?
Not in front of Janet. Not after what I saw in the chat. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom. People are
the legend will lay where it lies.
Brogan is holstering his front pipe. As he should. Let's be honest here, especially being a millennial now. We turned Brogan into a millennial. That front pipe's probably a little bit more active at this point.
Back in time.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to be 10 years younger? All right. Should I tell him the joke you said about Sheer one time for his birthday?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Brogan says Brogan for Sheer turns 40 or something, and he says, Sheer, nothing like turning 40, looking 50, and moving like you're 60. I woke up to that and I was dying. Yes, Foster Plumbing, though. Very good stuff. Water heaters, drain cleaning, sewer inspections, gas, water, sewer repairs. Back the pipe. 24/7 service. 10% off when you mention the AZ12 podcast. Call 520-603-3817 to schedule service today. Jerry Race, does the size of your front pipe make a difference to Foster Plumbing? No, they're equipped with all the pipes you need. Yeah. You just get a fully strong pipe and they'll work with it. Okay. Now, what else we got? Or a compromised pipe, maybe. All right, Cody, what else? All right, Baggins. We got Dennis Walsh in here. Kai. Yes. Now we got one from Dennis Walsh earlier. 12 Arizona locations, locally owned and operated. All food made in-house daily. Hey, have you ever heard of the Dennis Walsh special, John Brogan?
I have actually. I've never had it, but I've heard of it.
Oh, I would hope you haven't had it, but that's for some other people. That's for Dennis Walsh's lovely lady. Okay, and but use code AZ12 for 15% off. Free delivery code with free ride. Every sandwich comes with a chocolate chip cookie. All food made in-house daily. That's so good. I would literally go in there and I would just eat that cookie dough off of there. Boom, check it out. All right. When Janet isn't in the chat, I'm happy to be the chat millennial mom, twin mama. Okay. Twin mama sends me like 35 things like a month about swimming. And so I've just figured out because I don't know a lot about Instagram. So I just like heart it each time. And I'm like, all right, there, it's off the, all right, I got this out of my way. Okay, now, all right. So let's look around here a little bit. If Arizona plays Arkansas, then you would get the winner of Purdue and Texas. I'll say this. Sean Miller's done an amazing job there. They got the hepatitis, the guy whose last name was like hepatitis or whatever his name is. He's good, but I'll put it to you like this, man. I look at this bracket, and Arizona is, because there are some 2 seeds where I'm like, I don't love how Arizona should win, but don't love how they match up with them. I'll say this: Arizona should beat everybody in this bracket. Arizona is better than everybody in this bracket. Period. They just are.
Yeah, and so here's an interesting thing that I was noticing earlier. So if you look at all the regions to make the Final Four, right? The favorites are clear at this point. It's Duke, Arizona, Michigan, and now Houston. Now that Florida's out,
right?
Guess who has the 5th best odds to make the Final Four?
Who?
Purdue. That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
So if you think 9.5's a lot for Arkansas, you should see what the line versus Texas would be, because it'd be more than 9.5. So we definitely want Texas. They don't have enough depth. They got one big, and with Purdue, I feel like Arizona matches up great. Purdue is built like Arizona. They're just worse up front. Guards are probably a wash. Maybe Brad Burries is the X factor there. But with Purdue, I just don't think they have good enough size to mess with Arizona's physicality. And I don't think they're tough enough to match Arizona.
They don't have this. They don't have the size, and honestly, they don't have the athleticism. Kaufman, Wren, and Clough are both very good, but Clough's not nearly as big as Krivas. He's going to have a hard time with him. And Kaufman, Wren, he's good. But going against Tobe, going against Koa, that's a totally different animal. I just think Arizona should be. This is another situation. I think Arizona should be able to get a lot of points in the paint, and Arizona's just more athletic. But unlike Texas, where I don't really see a path to victory for Texas against Arizona, the path to victory for is Purdue bombing threes and and then allowing and Arizona not guarding them. That there is a path to victory.
Yeah. And, Braden Smith is awesome. We were watching the Houston game last year where he had the 15 assists and was making some crazy plays down the stretch in that game. So they've got really good players. They're just kind of the watered down version of Arizona in my mind.
Right.
And again, they're not as big, not quite as physical, not as tough, not as athletic. They shoot it better, and their offense is efficient. Like Painter's got a good system. But in the end, if you're telling me that we get to rely on Bradley and Burries and they got to rely on Smith, who's a creator more than a scorer, and Lawyer, who's a shooter more than a scorer, I'll take my chances with Arizona all day in that one.
Yeah, and I think the thing with how do I put this? Braden Smith is very, very good, but you're not going to look at Braden Smith and be like, man, he just dropped. I mean, he ain't Damon Stoudemire, where you're like, dude, he's not Darius Acuff, where you're like, holy crap, he just dropped 43 points on us or whatever. He's a guy, he's going to get you. And again, he's very, very good. They're very, very white as well, as Dennis Walsh says. Thank you. We're normalizing the white basketball.
American white too, not foreign white.
Not domestic white. Yes, exactly. We're going to get into the Nebraska game here in a little bit, but because that's a domestic white game of all domestic white games. But he's American white. American white sounds so bad. But he's going to average, like he gets you 12 and 8, something like that. Fletcher Lawyer is obviously, he's the one that scares me because he can go for 28 to 30 points if you don't guard him. But this also is an Arizona team that if you play Purdue and you don't guard the three, then that's not as good a team as I thought, because I think they should match up well with them.
Well, and Purdue has to get past Texas first. I mean, that spread's 7.5, 8, something like that.
Right.
We got to get past Texas first. Texas is we're going to see how much we saw a little bit today, how Purdue got exposed a little bit by Miami with their athleticism and their physicality. But Miami's just, they're a 9 seed for a reason, 8 seed, whatever they want.
Miami's just not a smart basketball team. I don't know how else to put it. It's just what they are.
Plain and simple. So we're going to see, again, we'll see that how good Texas is able to kind of be athletic. I trust Miller a lot more than I trust Miami. Again, we think Jai Lucas is going to be awesome, but Miller's going to have them playing defensive. He's going to have them being physical. They're going to be, they're going to do all the things that they need to do to win. It's just a matter if their players are good enough or not. That'll be the challenge.
Now, listen, Shane Bergen says, puts it, I think, very, very well. He said, do you remember Jeff Hornacek as Fletcher a little? That's not a terrible comparison. A young Jeff Hornacek, I don't hate that. He's not as athletic as Hornacek was. Hornacek was a really good athlete, but I don't hate that one. Now, let's see here. Shane Bergen says, basically, from here till the Final Four, Arizona is better than every potential opponent by a fair level. Doesn't mean they can't lose, but just needs to play their game. Boom. I think that's spot on. There's teams like if Arizona plays Duke or Michigan or whatever, there's other things you have to look at there. Arizona's better than these teams. They're better than these teams pretty much across the board on the perimeter. So do what you do and you should take care of business. Yeah.
If Arizona plays good, they make the Final Four. They didn't play good tonight. They played kind of average. If they play, they have good games. They beat Purdue. They beat Arkansas. When they get to Michigan, now it's got to go to, you got to play a great game to beat Michigan. And not to play your best game, but you got to play a great game because Michigan's going to be good. And then when you get to the final, obviously, depending on who they play, but you probably have to have another great game. But these next two, if they just play solid Arizona basketball, be physical, get to the free throw line, shoot a high percentage, stay out of foul trouble, they should roll these next two opponents.
I would certainly assume so. All right. Now, I would rather have a so-so game now than next week. In a weird way, let me ask you about that. If Arizona was to play kind of a game where, a little too close for comfort at times but you end up winning, this is the game you want because the games are getting real now. Arizona was never, and it's, what's funny is that Kobe and Shearer kept saying, I don't think Arizona's going to win. I don't think Arizona's going to win. And I said, Arizona's definitely going to win. Yeah. I mean, I never watched that game for a second and said, I don't think Arizona's going to win. But I will say this, though, the competition is you're stepping it up now. This isn't Utah State you're going to be playing.
Yeah, the difference between tonight and next week is if it's a 4-point game and Arkansas has the ball, you got to deal with Acuff getting a bucket versus whoever, whoever Utah State had, Falslev and whoever. There's been a few teams that have just steamrolled the whole tournament. The most recent one was the UConn team 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Whatever. Arizona's not that. They weren't just going to smash everybody by 20. It's like, oh, we're the best team by a
Those
mile.
are generational teams you see once every 7, 8, 9 years. Yeah.
And so with that, a clunker game is kind of expected for every team that wins a title. You can look back at one of those games and be like, okay, they didn't play their best, but they won, which is what you have to do. And then, I don't think Arizona needs to have back-to-back clunker games where they have to inch out a tough one against Arkansas. I'd like to see that one be a little cleaner. But, usually the national title teams have one clunker at least.
Right. Okay. Now we got $4.99 OC Bodybuilders back the A Sweet 16. Here we come. Very much appreciate you, OC Bodybuilders. You are the man. All right. Now let's get some reads in here and we're going to start talking our brackets because we got some stuff to get to. Okay. All right. Now, hey, Brogan, land the man. And your guys, well, like you said, most religions frown upon lying. So, yes. But we will say this, though. In your guys' religion, though, we do not like imposter people, though. People that are not real. This is true.
I would say that's true. Thou shalt not lie.
Thou shalt not lie about a sister that is not real and that is an AI person. That is for you, Lane Allen.
But in today's environment, avatars are people, okay?
That's a good point. I mean, you got people now that are saying they're dating avatars and they're dating. We know somebody that's always talking about, dating and meeting bots and stuff. Okay, but I'm going to say this, though. Land the Man with the Master Plan is the man, though. My mom adores Land the Man with the Master Plan. The 1997 Championship Package. Go there and check it out. Champion for dental implants, daily urgent care, Monday through Friday. Only offers necessary treatment. Loaned by Arizona local alumni. Land the freaking Man with the Master plan. Dental implants at affordable rates. Again, you don't have to go off to Myanmar and, I don't know, get some kind of raccoon feces that they put in there. They're not going to do any of that. They are going to do it the right way here at a cheap rate. Check it out. Boom. Hey, Vasa buddy. Oh, yeah. Hey, Dal, how you doing? Keeping us saying hi from the Dominican Republic. Nice. Very nice. All right, now, RJ's Frozen Cactus, red hot sports and ice cold beer. All right, you see that parking lot? The parking lot basically is like the Great Wall of China, that you could see that parking lot from space. That's how big this thing is. And Dennis Walsh can attest to this, but I'm going to say this. No, Scott, you're always so mean and negative. There is no reason for that comment. The food is great. Food is awesome. Pizza, wings, tacos, burgers, and more. No bad seats in the house. 100 craft beers plus $2 deals. Again, check it out. Go in there, hang out. You got a lot of TVs. You can go in there and starch yourself and drink some beer and watch the game. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. RJ's. Scott does need to get starched. Yes. Brogan, how's your AC working? You have an AC, right?
Overtime this week. It's been a hot couple of days.
I was going to say, how you guys are slumming it there in Tucson. How hot is it right now?
It was 100 on Friday for their 102 on Friday. The Cologuard Classic's in town, and they get to go out there and melt for a few days.
Yeah. All right. Well, have fun with that one, guys. But either way, Comfort X HVAC, they can go in there and you can trust. I was going to say, you can go in there trusted by homeowners and business and builders. Call 520-222-7012 or book online. Service and maintenance, emergency repairs, installations, mini splits, ductwork, ventilation, you name it. Boom. They got it. Check it out. Very, very good. All right. Now, okay, let's see here. Utah State is a 6 seed. That 9 seed was a joke. They dominated. It felt like a top 30 type team. I don't know, somewhere in there. So I'll say that. All right, now, hold on. Where's my bracket at? Oh, hold on. Brogan, talk for 2 seconds. Hold
on. Well, if we're going to brackets.
Actually, less than a second.
If we're going to brackets, I feel like the Florida upset for brackets is probably a good thing because I think – most of us Big 12 homers had Houston coming out of that side of the bracket.
Yeah, makes it easier.
So, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about it then. You got Duke. All right, I was going to say you're going to have Duke against St. John's. Yummy in my tummy. Listen, what's the spread on that game?
It opened at 7.5. It's already down to 6.5.
I'm going to say this. Duke is better. Duke should probably win. St. John's can make that game difficult for them. The problem, though, for St. John's is can you score enough? But they'll be throwing athletes in size at Duke that they haven't faced probably this season.
Yeah, and Duke's going to get tested. They're going to find out 2 things. One is how big of a loss is Caleb Foster, because you saw St. John's today. They're not going to press you, try to trap you and turn you over, but they're going to be in your face full court, especially with it being a freshman with Caden Boozer. And the second thing is St. John's is going to be physical. So we're going to see how tough Duke really is in this game. And we're going to see how back Gongba is and can he play 25 minutes.
Right, because the thing with St. John's and watching them up close is just how long and physical and athletic they are. I mean, offensively, they got issues. I mean, I know they made some threes, but it's clunky. But, man, they're going to they got a lot of different dudes they can throw at Boozer. There's not a lot of people in the country that they can throw that you can throw at. I will, like I said, that's going to be an interesting game for me. All right, now. Then you got Michigan State and you got UConn coming down there. I like the that's a good game. I think UConn wins that game, but what are your initial thoughts on that game?
I refuse to accept the fact that Michigan State's an elite team this year.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what they do great besides, Fears is good when he's not trying to trip people and,
kick him in the balls and stuff.
Legs.
Yeah.
Their bigs are okay. They shoot it okay. They play good defense because Izzo's a good coach, but I just don't know what Michigan State does that makes them dynamic. So I lean UConn on that one.
I'm going to say this. I know that on this show we are strong, we are heroic. I'm going to say this: 2 white guys up front that are unathletic is always going to be a little bit of a problem for me, and that's what they have. And the thing about Scott says, what does UConn do good? I'll say this. UConn's beaten a lot of really good teams this year. Maybe they're one of those teams that you're like, all right, well, you play down to your level of competition. You beat Florida. You beat Illinois. You beat I think there's a couple other wins in there as well. They're good.
Well,
I expect
UConn took Arizona to the wire. Granted, it was at home, but they were down 2 starters. And Terrence Reed almost had 30 and 30 in the first game.
Right. Yeah.
He didn't play against Arizona. So again, I'm not saying UConn would have won because they got a bunch out of Rod, but UConn has a great big man who's going to be able to kind of have his way against Michigan State, I think, and they can shoot threes, and they got good guard.
And their players just look better. Like, I mean, you look at that team, you just look at both teams in warm-ups, and you're going to say that team looks better than that team.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, then the game that everybody is talking about, this is probably going to be the most, I don't know. Yeah, it is. I think it's going to be the most anticipated matchup ever. Nebraska and Iowa in the Sweet 16. The winner goes on, my friend, to the, moving down there. Brogan, what are your thoughts? We got a lot of domestic whites in this game. This is an elite cold soup game. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me still is trying to figure out how Nebraska's good at basketball. So I got to work that out first. But
everybody is.
Yeah, I feel like Iowa kind of won their title tonight with the upset against Florida, and so I think I lean Nebraska in this game. What's interesting about this game is they've both seen each other. They've played each other. There's no game planning. It's like, okay, we got to go play for the third time. And so it's going to be an interesting game. I lean Nebraska. Like, one thing I'll give Nebraska credit for is they can make plays. They've got guys who can make shots. Stanford, when he needs to make shots, doesn't miss.
Right.
I know Sturts is good. He was terrible today. They got lucky and won. But I don't know. I trust Nebraska a little more in that game.
All right, I'm going to say this though. If you're a school and you have an opening, and I'm not necessarily talking about like North Carolina or something like that, Fred Hoiberg would be at the top of my list. He's a really, really good coach. I mean, you see what he's doing there with all white guys. That's
Just to interrupt you for a second, Shear's car was broken into at VA House.
Oh,
really
nice.
Yes.
Wow. And that thing is not a I don't know what they would be stealing in there as a dump inside there. It's
6 T-shirts, all exactly the same.
Yeah, 6 sweat-stained T-shirts and a bunch of soda and that's hope he's okay. Is he okay though, Cody? I'm never sure he is. But.
He tweeted about it, so I'm assuming he's okay.
All right. Well, yeah, he's definitely okay then. All right. We wish him nothing but the best. Okay. Now, isn't it a Kia? It is a Kia. Oh, it is a Kia. Well, that's a him problem at that point. Someone find Glenn or Rich Carrillo right now. Good point. Yes. Okay. Now, going on then, Illinois and Houston. That's a fun game. I lean Houston in that game. But that's going to be a fun game though, Brogan. What's the initial line on that?
Houston's favored. I think it's 3.5, but let me double check. Houston 2.5. Houston's 2.5.
All right.
Yeah, that's gonna be a very interesting game. Illinois is a huge team, and Arizona was able to beat Houston by being the bigger, kind of more physical, aggressive team.
Right.
Illinois got a bunch of foreigners, so typically when you're going toughness against foreigners, I'm going to lean toughness.
Right.
I like Houston's guards a little more. Like I can't trust Boswell in a big tournament game setting.
Yeah. Right.
Granted, he's been a lot better at Illinois, so I give him credit for that. What I think is interesting though is if you look at that entire portion of the bracket, it's 3 Big Ten schools in Houston.
Right.
And so
it's the Big Ten, like you said, it's the Big
Ten, or they got to walk to the Final Four. So
right. I like Houston to come out of that one though. Okay, so then we got Arizona. We've been you got Michigan against Alabama. This one, the Michigan-Alabama would have been an interesting one had the drug dealer not been arrested. That would have been I would have given Alabama a real chance in that game. Without the drug deal,
won't be cleared by then.
With Greg Byrne, I put nothing past it, man. Hey guys, don't worry about it. I do think though that Nate Oates was possibly leaving the door open when he goes, but we can't really separate ourselves from him because if you have a relationship with somebody and they get caught doing something they shouldn't do, and you just move on from them. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. So I think they're leaving the door open. I don't know how you play him. I mean, he's charged with felony drug dealing, but if anybody would do it, it's Alabama. I will say that.
Yeah, if there's one school out there that will have him ready to go for that game, it'll be Alabama. Again, Michigan's going to be favored in that game. I'm imagining that one's going to be 7, 8, 9 points, just like the Arizona game. Yeah.
Right. I would agree with that. Now, Iowa State. Brogan and I were talking about this before the game. Iowa State, Kentucky, and I said, I don't quite understand why this line was 5.5 for Iowa State without their best player. I understand now. Kentucky sucks. Mark Pope, I don't know what's going on there. That is a bad basketball team. Iowa State, I believe Iowa State can beat Michigan if they have Joshua Jefferson and he's healthy. If they don't, I don't see him. I don't see that. I just don't. I do think that they can beat Tennessee, or is it Virginia or Tennessee? Who are they playing?
I forgot. It's Tennessee.
It's Tennessee. All right. I think they can beat Tennessee. I just don't know how they can. I don't know how they beat Michigan without Joshua Jefferson.
Agreed. And I think Jefferson's going to play against Tennessee. An old school ankle sprain was 5 to 7 days. The new school ankle sprain, 3 to 8 weeks.
Right.
But,
yeah. Right.
When the games matter a lot more, I think guys are more prone to suit up. Again, he won't be 100%, but you need him at 80% because it kills your depth when he doesn't play. What you hope is he can kind of shake out some of the stiffness in his ankle and have him ready to go Sunday for the Michigan game. I think they'll handle Tennessee. Not easy, but I think they'll handle Tennessee.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, all right, we shall find out. Is Iowa State one of those teams that randomly makes the Final Four despite being undermanned? I mean, I don't know how. I just don't know. And again, I don't think Michigan's quite as good as other people say. I just don't know how you go against that front line without Jefferson being a difference maker, because you got white dudes in.
All white guys up front.
All white guys up front. Yeah, and domestic white guys as well.
And the bigger problem to me is you don't have any big dudes who can score, and so now you get to let Mara just sit in front of the rim.
Right.
That makes it really hard if you can't get buckets around the basket against Michigan.
That is not going to work. All right, let's get some reads in here. We're going to get back to the U of A game here. What do we got? All right, talk to me. All right, Kopal. Everybody go to Kopal. Big 12 Bobby is a big fan of Kopal, and that is because Big 12 Bobby is the man. Big 12 Bobby is one of the most successful people in this chat. You should follow his lead and go to Kopal. And you can go in there and mention Mike Luke for a free elote rib with any entree purchase. Brogan, how much would you like to be scarfing down and swallowing a Mike Luke elote rib, and it's free?
I told you I will not eat any of Mike Luke's ribs ever. All right, but nothing to do with Mike Luke and ribs.
All right. He's playing hard to get. I get it. You know what? But we will beat him down at some point there. That's fair. Or Shane Bergen, the great Shane Bergen. That's fair, Mike. Good call on the whites. Well, it's just kind of it is what it is. Okay, now, yes, Big 12 Bobby says, who could turn that down? Sheesh. Yeah, I agree with that. Sheesh. But yeah, check it out. Go to Kopal. It is yummy in my tummy. All right, now. Welcome to the Rock. All right. Two convenient locations. Oh, man, I stretched my neck after that one, man. Anybody got a cigarette? All right, two convenient locations. 50-plus locally sourced landscaping materials serving residents and contractors. East to Benson, Sierra Vista. West to Marana. South to Nogales. North to Oracle. Check it out. Green Valley Decorative Rock. They are absolutely destroying it right now, and that is because they are very, very good at what they do. Our pal Mike Natowski is the man. Check out Green Valley Decorative Rock. Back the rock. Right. All right, these shirts. There were two people up at the tournament wearing Ted Wardo's shirts, which I did not expect to see, but Ted Wardo has gone national at this stage. Get in there and get these shirts. AZ12 podcast, shop fourthwall.com. Get them. My mom just got one as well. Get in there, twin mama. There's no reason your whole family shouldn't be decked out in Ted Wardo shirts. Make it happen, please. Thank you. Okay, now. All right. San Diego, baby, making baby. Okay, now. Also, before we get into this, everybody go to, we're going to show tomorrow, Aaron Torres at 10 o'clock. All right, 15% off at Little Caesars. Go there, 15% off any online order. Enter promo code SAVE15, code LC, FREECC, free crazy combo with the pizza purchase. Everybody, we need you to go there. It makes us look good, and it is good food, and at a very, very good rate. Check it out, Little Caesars. All right, Brogan, obviously, there are some concerns from this game, but a win is a win is a win is a win. You still ended up winning by 12, and Arizona showed a pretty good clutch acumen as well in this. So that's it's good.
Yeah, and just had to remind everybody in the fan base that like this team's different because we got Bradley and Burries at the end of the game, and not Kirk Kriisa airballing a 3 late in the game for us.
Right.
So it's a refreshing thing again. We all get a little tense when the game got to 7-6 and then 4 and then 6, but in the end, we got dudes at guards and they win in the tournament.
All right, and I don't really worry necessarily about Arkansas pressing because they don't play defense. But that was we'll find out. But again, a win is a win. We'll take. Did Arizona end up covering?
Depends what line you got there. Anything?
What line did you get?
12.5.
Huh? What line did John Brogan get?
No, I didn't bet Arizona in this game.
You didn't? You bet Utah State?
No, I didn't bet. I didn't need any extra stress on the game.
Oh, I was going to say, did you go with your countrymen? I give you a lot of credit if you went with your countrymen.
My plan was to load up on Arizona against Arkansas, but not at 9.5. That's too many.
Is Utah State LDS?
It's in Ogden, which is like 2 hours north of Salt Lake. So I would guess smallish town in Utah. I would assume.
All right. But it's not like state sanctioned LDS though.
No, that's pretty much only like Provo.
That's only all right, I got you.
BYU/Provo, yeah. And
I got
BYU
you.
Hawaii.
Oh, BYU Hawaii. Oh, yeah. All right. Why would anybody go to BYU Provo when you could go to BYU Hawaii?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't get that one. Yeah, sign me up, man. It's like saying, would you like to go to BYU Prescott or BYU San Diego? Well, I'll go over there. But, all right, everybody. Greg Hansen is a Utah State alumni. Yes, I'm well aware. Yes. Okay. All right, everybody. You guys are the best. We are going to be back with you tomorrow at 10 for John Brogan, who basically was just getting glazed the entire show as he deserved. You need to go in there and tell Jessica, by the way, that when she's checking out the front pipe, you need to say, listen, people think I'm only 40, Jessica.
Yeah, go back and watch the show, but only read the chat.
Only read the chat. None of the other stuff. All right, yes. All right, you guys are all the best. We very much appreciate you. We will be back with you tomorrow. For the great John Brogan, I am merely Mike Luke, Cody James Martin behind the scenes. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Toodles.
Cody fall asleep?
Yeah, I think he did. All right, maybe he's telling me to read the super snaps. Okay, I'll read the super snaps again. I don't know what Cody's doing. All right, Lee Ferris, BTFD, 4 more wins, $49.99. Ted AZ Cats, $29.99. Ted Wardle gonna get his sheet on some Razorback sheet, BTFD. All right, yeah. M. Strom, stop eating like a toddler and stay away from the chicken tenders. Bear down to San Jose. Thank you, my man. All right, yeah, Tyler Warden, payable to Mike Luke's ring light fund. Just don't get a haircut there. All right, now, back the A, $49.99. BTFD win is a win. A working front pipe is a pipe. That is very, very true. Very, very true. Man, we got the smartest people here. All right, now, back the A, Sweet 16, here we come. OC Bodybuilders, you are the man. All right, I don't know where Cody is. I don't know what's going on. I will end this, though.
I mean, Mike, I had to step away for a second, but we're back. I'm back now.
All right. Thanks, Cody. All right. Feel free to end it now. Thanks.
Got it.
All right. See you guys tomorrow. TTFN.